Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to the Hindu News Analysis for 8th May 2026. This is Shyam Kaggod, your educator, taking up the discussion for today. Now, before I start, please do let me know that I'm audible and visible for all of you. Those present in the session, please confirm I'm audible and visible for all of you. Done. Thanks a lot. So let's start the session. These are the 10 articles. All of them are from the daily edition of Hindu newspaper. We will have a comprehensive discussion covering the aspects, important concepts which are relevant for prelims as well as mains examination for you. If you're liking the initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. If you're yet to join the Unacademy IAS YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Before I start with the first important article, here is an important announcement. Right now, the Unacademy IAS courses are available at a discounted price of 19,999. Once you enroll, you'll get access to the live sessions as well as the recorded lectures, prelims as well as mains test series, UCAN current affairs initiative, etc. Those interested in enrolling, do check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description. And do not forget to use the code IAS English to get the discounted price and also become eligible for extension of up to 6 months free of cost. Let me start. First important article, the editorial page articles. Openness, not an isolation, is the bedrock of the West. Very recently, the president of USA, Mr. Donald Trump, basically put out a tweet or a message from a person who was discussing in a podcast associated with the immigration policy of USA. That particular tweet basically read out that India's immigrants, along with the immigrants from other countries such as China who have moved to USA, are abusing the immigration policy of USA. Indians are coming from hellhole countries and they're basically creating a destabilization impact, having an impact on the US citizens, etc. So that particular message, which was retweeted, which was reposted by the president of USA, created a furor, created an issue. The government of India, that is the representative of Ministry of External Affairs, stated that that message was poor in taste, doesn't have any kind of, let's say, reality in the messaging, etc. And even the president of USA had to basically come out and clarify that India is a very good country, very friendly country, etc. Now, what is the debate surrounding all of this? Whenever you look at the current administration of USA, the policy regarding the immigration, you will see there are two different aspects of it. On one side, whenever the statements are issued in the context of, let's say, immigrants coming from the European countries, they are very much open to it because the argument is they feel there is a civilizational connect, there is a cultural connect, there is a religious connect between the USA as well as the countries within the European Union. But whereas when the same immigration policy is evaluated in the context of immigrants coming from other countries, for example, Africa, for example, Asian countries such as India and China, the stance of the administration will be completely different. And this is not the first time, by the way. I repeat, this is not the first time. In the earlier administrations also, similar things have happened. But in the first term, when Mr. Donald Trump was the president back in the year 2016 to 2020, similar statements, similar policies, etc., have been implemented, which were again challenged in the court. Some of the policies were reversed, etc. So, what is the reason why the administration, especially the current administration in USA, has this kind of an approach towards immigrants coming from one country and the immigrants coming from another country? Everything boils down to the concept of, right, a statement that was given in a book that was written by political scientist Samuel Huntington. He argued that in the global level or at the global level, in the future, when the politics will be done or whenever, right, let's say policies will be formulated, right, the policies will be implemented by the countries, etc. it will basically evolve into clash of civilizations. That is, basically, countries will start to get oriented with other countries where there is a common civilization, where there is a common cultural connect, where there is a common religious connect. And this is exactly what is happening in USA currently. Of course, there are differences between the policies or the viewpoints of the president of USA with the leaders of Europe. But those particular viewpoints are not associated with the policies of immigration, that is, the immigrants moving from Europe to USA. It is not the point of contention between the leaders here. The point of contention is something else. For example, USA current administration does not agree with the kind of, let's say, defense that is provided or defense expenditure that is incurred by the European countries. It does not agree with the policy of European Union countries in the context of the Strait of Hormuz, etc. But when you talk about the movement of immigrants from Europe to USA, there is absolutely no kind of a difference of opinion right now. This is basically what has been given under the concept of clash of civilizations. But the argument is that today, USA has become a developed country. Agreed? Today, USA is the largest GDP in the world. USA is the largest market for other countries, etc. But we have to keep it in mind that USA was able to become the largest country not just by utilizing the domestic resources. This is the crux of the discussion. Listen to me carefully now. USA, no doubt, is the largest market. It is the largest GDP. It has the largest and the strongest military forces in the world, etc. No doubt in all of these particular statements. But the point here to note is, USA did not get to this particular point by utilizing only the domestic resources. I'll just give you a couple of examples. Let's say artificial intelligence. Today there is so much of a discussion, debate about who should be leader of artificial intelligence. Which country is investing more in AI, right? Which country is getting access to more resources to develop AI, sovereign models, etc. But listen to me very carefully. If USA is one of the leaders in the artificial intelligence, it has been able to do this utilizing resources from other countries. What do I mean by resources here? For example, you need software engineers, correct? You need people to code. You need certain technology, that is, let's say, the raw materials such as critical minerals, etc. The fact of the matter is, USA does not have all these resources. It is getting these resources from other countries. For example, software engineers. India basically exports in the form of, let's say, services I'm talking about. India exports lot of the software engineers, the experts to the global market, including USA. So when USA simply says, right, India is a hellhole, we don't require the assistance or we don't need anything from other countries, we can, right, basically rule on ourselves, etc. That particular statement is not correct. And second example here, let's say during the pandemic, during the viral, right, let's say the virus, the outbreak that happened and the kind of impact that this particular outbreak back in the year 2020 and post that, the kind of impact that it had on the global market, we were able to develop vaccines. And these particular vaccines were developed in different countries across the world. The raw materials were utilized, the human resources, R&D resources, etc. were utilized from all the other countries, including India, by the way. And we were able to manufacture them and export it. So again, the argument is very simple. USA is a developed country, but has it become a developed country by only utilizing its resources? Answer will be incorrect. Now let's say the extreme case situation. What is the policy of the government of USA? They will not allow immigration. Argument is, please understand, the focus should be on illegal immigration. Rather than targeting all the forms of immigration, the focus should be on illegal immigration. For that matter, any country around the world or in the globe will always be worried about illegal immigration. For example, even in India, are we not worried about illegal immigration that is happening from the neighboring countries into India. Should we basically send them back, right? Deport them? Of course, yes, we should do that. Same power is given or same right should be given to USA. But the debate is not about just the illegal immigration, it is the targeting of all the immigrants. This is the first very important point. Second very important point is, in addition to immigration, USA also has utilized the resources from other countries. For example, I said raw materials. Correct? Inputs, raw materials. In the global market, whenever you talk about production of goods and services, you will come across a term called as global value chains, GVCs, global value chains. Global value chain essentially means the whole production and supply from the point of conceptualizing, from the point of having a concept to the point of producing and selling this in the market. The whole supply chain is distributed in different countries. The whole supply chain will be distributed. For example, a car. Design of the car can be made in one country. The components or the spare parts will be made in another country. The engine will be made in third country. The assembly of it will be done in a fourth country, and the sales of it will be done in other countries. So this is essentially the example of a global value chain. Now you take defense sector in USA. They require semiconductors, right? A lot of these semiconductors a lot of times are manufactured using the raw materials which are exported from other countries. They need, let's say steel. They need aluminum. All of these are manufactured in other countries. That's the reason USA imports it to manufacture all of these equipments, all of these tools, all of these defense products, etc. So second point is, there is dependence of raw materials from other countries as well. Third very important point, capital. Third very important point in this context is capital. Now in the context of capital, there has been one very important and interesting development, by the way. Interesting. Historically, when you see, the foreign countries do invest in India. Correct? We basically attract a lot of investments from USA, from, let's say Korea, from other, European countries. We attract a lot of investments in the form of FDI. But how many of you are listening to the news, or let's say looking at the articles where they're talking about Indian companies investing in America? Very recently, the Sun Pharmaceuticals company has proposed or is basically buying out an American company. And very recently, there was a statement issued by one of the government representatives in America itself, which stated that from India, around $14 billion worth of investments have flown into America. The total stock of investments is more than $14 billion. So argument is, this is just one example. In the same way, we can talk about South Korea, investing in USA. European countries investing in USA. Many other countries investing in USA. So when you talk about USA being a developed country, it has been able to achieve this particular fiat. It has been able to reach this particular level by following a policy of openness. It is basically by following a policy of openness. Post the Second World War, they have opened the doors for inflow of immigrants, for inflow of talent, for inflow of capital, for inflow of trade, etc. And using all of these resources, they have been able to become a developed country. So the article basically says, the government, not just in USA, it is a lesson for other countries as well around the world to have an open mind, to have open mind in terms of allowing immigration, important talent to flow, important investments to flow, which will help growth as well as development. Done. So these are certain important points. Everybody's okay? Now based on this, please take up a question for practicing mains answer writing. The debate on immigration is no longer merely social or political. It is increasingly economic and strategic. Examine the statement, 150 words and 10 marks. Please attempt this particular question. Now, second important article, Unwinnable War. All of you, please have a look at the map here. I've put a map. Please have a look at the map. Please note down all of these particular bases. Questions can be asked in prelims examination based on the bases which are developed, which are operated, maintained by USA in the West Asia. There are different countries in West Asia. You have Qatar, you have Kuwait, you have UAE, you have Saudi Arabia, etc. In all of these particular countries, USA is maintaining different types of bases. Straightforward prelims question can be asked on these particular bases itself. And in addition to this is my advice to you. In addition to this, also look at the different bases which are held by other European countries as well. For example, very recently, there was a friction between USA and Spain because Spain basically said we are not going to allow the usage of our base to USA. There was a friction between USA as well as the United Kingdom. The reason was the same thing. So there are different bases which are operated, owned by different countries in West Asia. Please make a note of all of these. Question can be asked in the prelims examination. Now, what is the important point of the discussion here? What is the important point? The President of USA very recently announced Operation Project Freedom. Correct? I'm pretty sure all of you have heard of this. Operation Project Freedom. This was announced by the President of USA. And what was the objective of this operation? The military, that is the USA presence in this particular region, that is specifically targeting the Strait of Hormuz. The military buildup that is already there, such as the warplanes, helicopters, different vessels, etc. So all of this military might of USA, resources of USA will be utilized, and the vessels which want to basically pass through the Strait of Hormuz, they will be given the assistance. That's it. They will be given the protection, and it will basically facilitate movement of vessels into the Strait of Hormuz and out of Strait of Hormuz. It was announced by USA, and within 36 hours, again the same operation Project Freedom was stopped. It was paused by the administration of USA. They basically stated that it has been paused based on the request that has been put up by Pakistani government. But the experts as well as the article that has been published in today's Hindu newspaper basically discusses what is the reason, actual reason behind this kind of a reversal of the Project Freedom. Reversal has been done for a simple reason. This Operation Project Freedom has been announced by the administration of USA without consulting any of these members. Is it okay? Without having any kind of a consultation, without talking to these countries, without getting inputs from these particular countries, the Operation Project Freedom was launched. And when this was announced, Saudi Arabia, where an important base is present, USA wants to use this particular base to provide assistance. USA wants to use the air or basically the aerial routes on these particular countries to provide security, etc. Saudi Arabia basically said, we will not allow the USA forces to use all of this. The base will not be made accessible. We will not allow them to use. And we will not allow any kind of aerial movement of the planes. We will not allow the USA forces to use all of the resources. In fact, after this was communicated to USA, the President of USA has held a telephonic conversation with the leader of Saudi Arabia, MBS, Mohammed bin Salman. So telephonic conversations have been held, but the Saudi Arabia has categorically stated it is not going to allow because it was not consulted. This particular, the war that is being fought here, again, if this kind of, let's say, activities, military operations will be conducted in this, let's say, volatile region, after the, let's say, the ceasefire has been implemented, if there is any kind of, let's say, skirmish, if there is any kind of, let's say, attack that is happening, that will basically snowball into a bigger conflict in the region. And as such, after this announcement was done, Iran has attacked certain vessels. Iran has also attacked, the other countries which are supporting USA, which have bases in the region. So citing all of this, Saudi Arabia has stated that it will not allow the accessibility of these resources to USA forces. And finally, the president of USA has announced that Operation Project Freedom will be paused. This is essentially what has happened in the last 36 hours in the context of the Strait of Hormuz. Everybody is okay with the discussion? Now, based on this, please take up the MCQ and tell me what is the correct answer very quickly. How many of the following pairs are correctly matched? Operation Project Freedom, launched by USA for guiding stranded vessels. Operation Urja, launched by India to ensure safety of Indian bound cargo. And the third one, Operation Sindhu, launched by India to evacuate Indian nationals from Israel and surrounding region. How many of the pairs are correctly matched? Tell me what is the correct answer very quickly so that we can move on to the next important article. Nobody wants to answer. Solace, Anushka Singh, Bhuvan, Ocean. These are the usernames, by the way. Right? How many of the pairs are correct? Let's start. Operation Project Freedom. That is what we have discussed just now. This is correct, by the way. Operation Urja, launched by India to ensure safety of Indian-bound cargo. That is specifically again associated with Strait of Hormuz itself. Yes. Operation Sindhu, launched by India to evacuate Indian nationals from Israel and surrounding countries. Yes. All the three are correct. Bhuvan says 1. No, my dear. Right option is option C. All the three are correct. And by the way, the first one was there in today's newspaper. The remaining two have been there in the newspaper for the last couple of months. Right option is option C. Let's go forward. How does Kerala plan to tackle oil spill hazards? In the last year, that is in the year 2025, there were 2 accidents in the coast of Kerala. Right? As a result of this, there was a lot of concern associated with the impact of these accidents on the marine ecosystem there. Right? That is, let's say there is an accident where oil spillage will happen. There is an accident where the cargo is, right, let's say certain chemicals, and these chemicals will be spilled into the open seas now. So what is the impact of this particular, right, let's say accident on the ecosystem, surrounding ecosystem? Now, whenever there is a talk about, right, the oil spillage, please remember, it is the Indian Coast Guard, ICG, Indian Coast Guard, which will become responsible for the implementation of National Oil Spill Disaster Controlling Plan. Is it okay? I'll expand it again. Indian Coast Guard will come into picture, which will be responsible for the implementation of National Oil Spill the Disaster Controlling Plan. But at the same point of time, all the states which have coast, right, all the states which have coastal land, these particular states are supposed to create a OSCP, Oil Spill Contingency Plan. I'll write the full form here. Oil Spill Contingency Plan. All these particular states which have coast will have to create this particular plan. The plan essentially will have all the do's, don'ts, who is the right authority, how the powers will be distributed amongst different departments, right? Who are the contact or main contact persons at this particular point of time, how to estimate the impact of this kind of a disaster, etc. So, oil spill contingency plan. This has to be prepared. And by the way, please do let me know immediately in the chat section, according to you people, how many states and union territories have coastline in India? I'll repeat the statement. This can be a potential question because last year there was a very interesting, right, let's say announcement. India's coastline has suddenly increased. That became a big news last year. How many states plus union territories have a coastline, right? Ocean says 8. Don't worry, I'll show the, right, let's say the table to you. This is a table that I've taken from Ministry of Shipping website. Ministry of Shipping website. According to this particular Ministry of Shipping website notification, there are totally 13 states as well as union territories. I'll repeat the statement. There are totally 13 states as well as union territories which basically have coastline. And amongst this can be the question asked. In fact, that is a question that I've asked in the MCQ as well. The state which has the highest or the lengthiest coastline is Gujarat. Please remember this. State which has the lengthiest coastline is Gujarat. But what UPSC might do is, right, what UPSC might do, instead of asking question targeting only the state, UPSC will give you state plus union territories, some example, and ask you to find out which of the following has the highest coastline in India. Everybody is able to understand the difference between two statements? Statement 1, and do let me know in the chat section. First one is, which of the following states has the highest or the lengthiest coastline? That is one question. Second one is, they will give you examples of states as well as union territories and ask you which of the following has the highest or the lengthiest coastline. If the question is on the state, it will be Gujarat. If it is on state, it will be Gujarat. And if it is simply any right, let's say any of these, that is the states as well as union territories, please make a note of the last one here, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Please make a note of the last one. Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the coastline for Andaman and Nicobar Islands is 3083 kilometers. Everybody is okay? Please do let me know now. Everybody is okay? Now come back to the point of discussion. That is the article given in the Hindu newspaper. Article basically says each of the states and union territories, each of the states which have a coastline will have to prepare an oil spill contingency plan. Despite having 2 accidents last year, the state of Kerala, right, renamed as Kerala, doesn't have a OSCP. Very recently, the OSCP has been prepared and it has been shared. It is yet to be made official, by the way. OSCP has been prepared. The draft of the OSCP by the state of Kerala has been prepared and it has been shared. Any state which has already implemented oil spill contingency plan, please remember the state of Tamil Nadu, the state of West Bengal, TN and WB. Both of them are there in the newspaper every day for the last 15-20 days now. So the state of Tamil Nadu as well as West Bengal, they already have framed and implemented OSCP. The state of Kerala, after announcing for more than 10 years now, it was announced back in the year 2016 that they will have an OSCP. Finally, the draft has been prepared and the draft has been submitted. Let's wait and see. Once the notification is announced, you'll have to make right pointers regarding what are the important provisions under the new plan. Right? But essentially, what will be the coverage of the plan? The plan will, like I said earlier, will have provisions or the pointers such as which are the different authorities which will come into play once there is an oil spill, what kind of estimate will be conducted, what method will be used to conduct, right, let's say studies regarding the impact of the oil spill on the ecosystem, what reforms or what steps will be undertaken now, what kind of steps can be undertaken to reduce its impact and address the oil spillage, etc. All of these particular provisions will be made under the OSCP. Everybody is okay? Please do let me know. This is right basically the summation of the article provided here in the context of oil spillage. Now please answer this question. Please don't make a mistake in this question as well because you already know the answer. Which of the following states has the highest coastline? The question is on the state. Which of the following states has the highest coastline? West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh. It is the state of Gujarat. Gujarat has the longest or the highest coastline of the states which are listed here. Done? Now please download the PPT. This is my suggestion to all of you. After the session is over, the same PPT that I'm using with annotations, by the way, with the same pictures will be uploaded in the official Telegram channel. Please go to our official Telegram channel and download it from there. Use it for revision purposes. Let's move on. Next important article. Was a proper debate held in Parliament on Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioner's Appointment Law? This is a question which has been asked by the Supreme Court of India in one of the hearings yesterday. But what is the debate? What is the issue all about? Listen to me very carefully. We have a constitutional authority, that is Election Commission of India. Under the Election Commission of India, the authorities which will be appointed will be the Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioners. Chief Election Commissioner plus Election Commissioners. Done? One of you saying nowadays PPT is not available in Telegram channel. My dear, I can give you guarantee. Let the session be over. 10 to 15 minutes after that, you will get the PPT, this PPT in the Telegram channel. Mother promise. You will get it, by the way. Okay, so don't worry. So we have a constitutional authority, Election Commission, and under Election Commission we have CEC plus Election Commissioners. Until very recently, what do I mean by until very recently? Until Anup Barnwal versus Union of India judgment of Supreme Court of India, that is in the year 2023. The appointment was essentially done by President of India by receiving the recommendations or as recommended by the Government of India. Right? So the Government of India would recommend, President of India would appoint. But the Supreme Court of India cited Article 324. Please observe now. Supreme Court of India cited in this particular judgment Article 324, specifically the Section 2. Right? Article 324.2. And Article 324.2 basically uses one term, focus on this particular term, subject to the provisions of any law made in that behalf by Parliament be made by President. Everybody can see this? Somebody will say, sir, it is not visible. Zoom in more. Okay, done. That is also done. Can you see this particular term? Subject to the provisions of any law made in that behalf by the Parliament. What is the meaning of this statement? Under this article, it simply states there has to be a law made by the Parliament, and according to that, the appointment has to be done. Very simple. Law has to be passed or bill has to be introduced. It has to be made into a law. There have to be a provisions. According to this, the appointment has to be done. So what the Government of India was doing until recently, the Government of India would recommend to the President, President would appoint. So Supreme Court of India in this judgment made a change. And the change was, citing this article, Supreme Court said there will be a committee. There will simply be a committee. Committee of 3 people which will basically look into the appointment of Election Commissioner and Election Commissioners and Chief Election Commissioner. And this particular 3-member committee was supposed to have 1, the Prime Minister, 2nd, Leader of Opposition, and the 3rd one, Chief Justice of India. Everybody is okay? The Supreme Court said this committee will look into the appointments of Election Commissioner, Election Commissioners and Chief Election Commissioner. The Government of India introduced a bill, passed the bill and basically converted or made it into an act. This act is Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners appointments, conditions of service and terms of service Act of 2023. And this was implemented after the Supreme Court judgment. That is the Barnwal judgment of 2023. The reason is very simple. Supreme Court said until and unless the Parliament will pass a law, this 3-member committee will sit and will basically look into the appointments of ECs and CEC. So by making a law or by bringing into force a law, basically what was the judgment of Supreme Court of India, right? That was basically overseded or superseded. That is, now there will be a committee. Under this law, there will be a committee of 3 members. The 3 members will be 1, the Prime Minister, 2nd, Leader of Opposition, and the 3rd one will be a Cabinet Minister who will be appointed by, understand this, Cabinet Minister who will be appointed by Prime Minister. So against the earlier recommendation in the judgment of having a Chief Justice of India, under the law now, under this particular act, Chief Justice of India was replaced to have a Cabinet Minister who would be appointed by Prime Minister. So obviously these out of 3 people, one is Prime Minister and the 2nd one is the appointee, Cabinet Minister who is appointed by the Prime Minister. So obviously the Leader of Opposition doesn't have any power here. Majority will be with these two people. So this was challenged in the Supreme Court. Everybody is able to understand? This was challenged in the Supreme Court. And these hearings are happening, and associated with this particular challenge itself, this particular statement or this observation was made by the justices yesterday. The question that they asked was, when we issued this judgment back in the year 2023, what are the repercussions? What are the ethos associated with this particular judgment? Was there a detailed discussion associated with this in the parliament before the passage of this particular bill? This is essentially the discussion that is given in the newspaper. Everybody is okay? Now, it's not a final order. Please wait and see. Right? In the coming days, the final order of Supreme Court of India will also be issued in regards to the act regarding the EC as well as the CEC. Can we go forward now? Okay. Next, power privatization in Ladakh. Facing resistance over the power privatization bid, Ladakh's chief secretary has reached out to the locals. What is the issue? What is happening in Ladakh? On one side, there is a demand. There has been a protest to provide statehood to Ladakh. That is happening. Okay, there is a demand that statehood should be provided to Ladakh. But in addition to this, now there is one more important point of conflict or important point of difference. The difference is very simple. There is one entity, Ladakh Power Development Department. Ladakh Power Development Department. The government now has proposed to create a corporation. To create a corporation. That is basically a corporation for distribution of electricity. And this corporation shall be set up by a joint venture between Ladakh Power Development Department, I'll start using the short form LPDD, and Rural Electrification Corporation, REC, Rural Electrification Corporation. In this electricity corporation that has been proposed, the REC will have 51% ownership and LPDD will have 49% ownership. This is a proposal. But against creation of this entity, there is opposition. There are two different entities. Again, these are involved in the demand for statehood for Ladakh as well. The two different entities are, one, Apex Body of Leh, LEH, that is in short LAB. Along with this, there is also one more entity, Kargil Democratic Alliance. Kargil Democratic Alliance. Done? Now, what is the demand? Why they are demanding this? Let me explain this. These two entities are opposed to creation of this corporation. Their reason is very simple. One, this region is important for India in terms of security. Strategically, it is in a border region. So this is very important. Hence, the electricity that will be supplied, any activity associated with the electricity distribution, etc., focus should be on providing security. Focus should be on strategic importance, not run behind profitability. Is my statement clear? The moment you create a corporation, have a look at their argument. The moment you create a corporation, the focus will be on efficiency. The focus will be on profitability, etc. Right? And that is natural outcome. That is the reason you create a corporation. In the sense, corporation means, right, it is a legally recognized entity. And once you create this kind of a entity, the focus will be on efficiency. Focus will be on profits. So one argument is, this should not be done because this is strategically important. And for the people who are residing here, the moment you focus on profits, you will try to sell electricity, supply electricity at a higher cost. Simple. You will try to sell because you want to earn profits. But for the people residing in this region, with this rugged terrain, they may not have sufficient money to pay for the electricity, and especially when it is very cold. Right? And this particular region is located at a higher altitude, because it will be very cold. This will make it very difficult for the population to pay higher tariff. That's a second reason. And third and very important reason is the moment you create a corporation, legally recognized entity like this, if you want to hire people, you'll have to follow the procedure. You'll have to follow the procedure because it is not directly owned by the government, but entity which is under the ownership of an entity which is owned by the government. Right? So whenever you want to hire people, you'll have to conduct a test. You'll have to follow the procedure, which means people from other regions will be hired by the entity now, will be hired by the corporation. They will move into the region. So already the people or the population which is residing in the region, they are suffering because sufficient number of jobs are not available. Now, if you bring in people from other parts, you provide jobs for people from other let's say states, other regions, etc. This unemployment problem will further become bigger in the region. So these are some of the reasons which have been cited by these organizations and oppose the power privatization that is being proposed in Ladakh. Everybody is okay? Do let me know. Next important article, DMK's allies urge governor to invite Vijay to form government. This has been there in the discussion for some time now, in the last 2 days. What is the gist? What is the important point you need to focus? Forget about the political aspect of it. This is again going to raise issues or the concerns associated with what kind of power does the office of governor have? Very simple. What kind of power does the governor's office have? In the last couple of years, there have been a lot of issues. There have been a lot of instances where the states have dragged the governor's office, challenging the powers of the governor under the Constitution of India because there are a lot of discretionary powers. This will be one such issue if it is not resolved very soon. The gist is very simple here. Very recently, elections have been conducted in different states. Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Assam. Elections have been conducted. Now, of these particular states, focus is on 2 states, West Bengal and the second one is Tamil Nadu. In the Tamil Nadu Assembly, the elections have been conducted for 234 seats, of which the TVK, the new political party, the TVK has won in 108 seats. To form the government, you need at least 118. Simple. To form the government there, you need at least 118 seats. Right now, I repeat, right now, according to all the reports until, let's say 9:55 a.m. today, TVK does not have 118 seats. They have 108 plus 5 from the Congress, maximum 113. So whenever this kind of a situation exists where there is no single party which has the majority, then the governor, according to various Supreme Court orders as well as the judgments, should basically give the opportunity to one political party which has highest number of seats. Simple. Which has the highest number of seats. Right? So that particular party or the representative should be called up by the governor. They should be given the opportunity to show that they have the majority on the floor of the assembly. Is it okay? On the floor of the assembly, they should be asked to show majority. Now, there have been 2 instances where the actor Vijay, now politician Vijay or to be CM Vijay, has approached the governor of Tamil Nadu. He has presented the support of 108 MLAs, but the governor has basically stated he wants to see the support of at least 118 MLAs. Right? So this, many of the experts are arguing that this is not the power, right? And this is not the directive that has been issued by the Supreme Court of India in the different judgments as well. Right? So let's wait and see what will be done in the coming days regarding the formation of government, right? That is a state government in the state of Tamil Nadu. Done? Okay. Now let's go forward. India, European Union, Free Trade Association, Free Trade Agreement. There is a statement that has been provided by Mr. Delphin, right? By Mr. Delphin. He is the representative, right? The trade representative from European Union. Right? What is the importance of the statement and what is the important points that you need to understand? Very recently, there was an agreement, right? The 2 sides that are involved here, India and European Union, both of the sides have completed the negotiations. Completed in the sense, formal negotiations are over. They have agreed to sign a free trade agreement, which is one of the largest in the global market. One of the largest in the sense, the size of the GDP that would be covered under the agreement is very high. And the population that would be covered under the agreement is also very high. That's the reason this agreement has been referred to as mother of all the trade deals. Mother of all the trade deals. But please understand, once the agreement is signed, doesn't mean automatically it will be implemented. I'll repeat the statement. Once the agreement is signed, doesn't mean that it will automatically be implemented. No. There has to be a lot of work done where both of the sides will have to ratify, will have to discuss and then bring it into implementation. It is expected that in the year 2027, this particular trade agreement will come into force. Expected. And by the way, please understand, unlike India, I'll repeat, unlike India, it's not that easy to basically make all the countries in the European Union agree to this kind of a trade agreement. This has happened earlier as well, where some of the countries, the discussion of trade agreement was happening between Mercosur, right? I'm pretty sure you've heard of the grouping Mercosur, South American grouping. So Mercosur as well as European Union, again one of the largest trade agreements, by the way. Many of the countries within the European Union have challenged it, were opposed to this particular trade agreement. So come back to the point here. The trade agreement has been signed. It will take, let's say till 2027 to implement. But please understand, even if you implement the trade agreement, it may not necessarily yield expected results. That is the warning that has been provided in the article. Very simple. You will implement the trade agreement, and the focus of the trade agreement is generally on reduction and elimination of tariffs. Correct? The trade agreement generally focuses on reduction and elimination of trade tariffs. That is the customs duties, etc. India has agreed to reduce customs duties, eliminate a lot of them, and correspondingly, as a reciprocal measure, European Union also has agreed to eliminate most of the tariffs, so that the trade between both of the groups will start to be promoted. It will increase in the coming days. Agreed, that is bound to happen. But it doesn't happen automatically because there will be a lot of other issues. That simply might hold the effective implementation of the trade agreement. What do I mean by other issues? Let's say certain imports will come into the ports of India. They will basically land into the shores of India. Now, what if the process that has been implemented, the process I'm talking about, the process to give clearance for the imports, it has involvement of lot of paperwork. Just think of it. It involves a lot of paperwork. It involves a lot of documentation. It involves a lot of approvals or the clearances from many other authorities. And it will take a lot of time. So imagine this is the situation. So agreement has been signed, tariffs have been eliminated. But does it automatically lead to higher amount of trade between both of the groupings like this? Answer is no. Because there is a term called as compliance issue. There's a term called as compliance issue. Compliance issues or compliance cost, they will say. Compliance cost simply talk about what is the expenditure that you will have to incur in order to follow the guidelines, in order to implement the policy, in order to implement the guidelines. If the cost of compliance is very high, the importer, exporter might rethink whether to continue conducting the trade or should they basically look at other markets. So the argument is very simple here. Agreement has been signed, mother of all the trade deals. This agreement has to be effectively implemented. In order to do that, the cost of compliance burden has to be reduced. And there is one more area that has been flagged in the article. The expert basically says one more area that has not been covered effectively and under the trade agreement is the investments. Promotion of cross-border investments has not been covered effectively under the agreement. Done. So these are certain important points in the context of that article. Let's move on to the next article now. India and Canada. Canada must act against anti-India extremist elements. This is a statement that has been issued in the press conference, that is generally held by the Minister of External Affairs representative, Mr. Jaiswal. Now, what is the context of this? Context is very simple. The intelligence agency, Canadian Intelligence Agency, it is basically CISS, Canadian Intelligence Security Service. CSIS, Canadian Intelligence Service. Okay, so CSIS very recently, that is back in the year 2025, published a report. That particular report was presented in the parliament. According to the report, the extremist elements such as Khalistani movement, that is the people who are extremist and are supporters of the Khalistani movement, these are a national security threat, not for India, but for Canada. This particular viewpoint has been held by Government of India for many, many decades now. Since this particular origin took place, or since the start of anti-India movement in Canada, which is conducted by the separatists who demand that there should be a separate Khalistani, etc. This kind of a viewpoint has been held by Government of India for many, many years now. In fact, that was one of the reasons why there was a friction between the earlier administration, where Mr. Justin Trudeau was the Prime Minister, and the Indian government. So this viewpoint has been held by Government of India. In multiple instances, it has been shown that these extremist elements are not just a threat for India, not just threat for Indian workers who are working, let's say the other people from other states who are working in Canada, the Hindus who are working in Canada, multiple instances have been reported where they have been attacked, where they have been insulted, etc. Even the government officials, government buildings have come under threat from these kind of extremist elements. But please understand, the report also makes a difference between the people who are simply supporting Khalistani or Khalistan and those who actually are extremist, basically undertake violent activities. Those who are supporting, not a problem, but if you basically conduct certain activities, for example, one instance that has been reported in the, which has been given in the report is, lot of other people, they will be brainwashed, they will be fed, lies. They will basically say this is, basically to protect human rights of certain people in India. By providing this kind of information, they will collect funds from them and they will use the funds to conduct terrorist activities. So all these particular issues have been given in the report, and this has come up for discussion in the Canada Parliament. And regarding this, when the question was asked, the Minister of External Affairs representative has given the same statement. India time and again has held the same viewpoint that the anti-India extremist elements are a threat not for just India, but also for the safety and security of Canadians as well. Done? So these are certain important points. Next, 13 children rescued from bonded labor. Now, I know a lot of you will be thinking, sir, is it not the common news? Every now and then we will come across the term bonded labor in India. Then what is the reason you have taken up this article? My dear, the reason that I have taken up this article is 50 years. We have completed 50 years of Bonded Labor System Abolition Act. Please remember this. Bonded System Abolition Act. Bonded Labor, BLSA. Bonded Labor System Abolition Act, 1976. Everybody is able to understand the reason why I have taken up this article. We have completed 50 years of this act. So very recently, 13 children who belong to Baiga community. This can be a potential question in the prelims. Please remember, 13 children, not adults, 13 children who belong to Baiga community. This is the community which is predominantly present in Madhya Pradesh. It is predominantly present in Madhya Pradesh, but in addition to Madhya Pradesh, it is also the people from this community, which is PVTG, right? That is a particularly vulnerable tribal group. The people from this particular tribal group are also present in Chhattisgarh, in Jharkhand, and Uttar Pradesh. Can be a potential question in the prelims, please remember. So the Baiga community children, 13 have been rescued. In addition to this, the case have been filed under, right, the Child Labor and Juvenile Act, because these are children, by the way. But essentially, why this article is important? Because please understand, like I said earlier, 50 years of the BLSA, right? We are looking into this. And suddenly UPSC can ask you a question on this. Bonded labor essentially means you are forced to work. Underline the term forced. You are forced to work against your will. If you're working in a company, you're a software engineer, you're an IAS officer, can you quit? You are fed up with the work. You don't want to work anymore. Right? Can you quit? Of course, yes. Right? You can easily quit from your job. But under the bonded labor system, you are forced to work against your will, whether you like it, don't like it, and you are forced to work until certain payment is done. And in most of the cases, this is illegal. By the way, this is illegal. In most of the cases, the wages that they are calculated, because you have to pay up something, etc., the wages are much, much lower than the minimum wages. This is basically the concept of a bonded labor. And I was reading an article a couple of days ago. It was basically discussing what has been the effectiveness of 50 years of BLSA. The article has given a striking data. Please remember this. Despite implementing this act for 50 years now, how many people have been saved from the bonded labor? How many people have been rehabilitated under that? The number is just 3 lakh people. Remember this. Just 3 lakh people in the last 50 years have been saved, have been protected, have been rehabilitated under the bonded labor system abolition act of 1956. Done? Right? So let's go forward now. Last article. Right? So last article for today, government rolls out plan for free health checks for workers. The government of India, under the 4 labor codes, has announced that they will be providing annual free health checkup for those workers who are aged 40 years and above. Right? Annual free health checkup. And this is important for a simple reason. Lot of these workers are working under, let's say, strenuous condition. They might be, right, facing lot of heat. They might be facing lot of, right, physical stress, etc. So it is very important to keep a track of the health status of these workers. So those workers 40 and above will be provided with annual free health checkup at ESI hospital. That will be the initiative that has been announced by the government of India. Done? So these are the 10 articles, the concepts as well as the questions I wanted to discuss with you people. The PPT will be uploaded. Just give me some time. I'll ensure that it will be made available to you. Now, if you have any kinds of doubts, questions or confusion, do let me know. I'll address your doubts. And if you have liked the session, do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join the Unacademy IAS YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. No doubts? Done. Thanks a lot. Take care. See you tomorrow sharp at 10 a.m.